If you were the most beautiful human being on the planet and nobody could see you or nobody else knew it, would you still want it? Hi, friends. I have a weird question for you guys today. I guess it isn't that weird. It's just more of this is what's come to me, and I'm curious about everybody's feedback. And this is kind of like a mental exercise, like a, a thought exercise. So, I was thinking about beauty and the body. We all have different comfort levels with beauty and with our bodies and our individual bodies and seeing other people's bodies. And so, especially with this social media climate, which is not my favorite, but other people can thrive there, even though it's not for me. I see the benefits. I see how other people find some sort of energy, some sort of like feeding mechanism there. And so this thought came to me. So, are you ready? if you were, if you were the most beautiful human being on the planet, so if you were the most beautiful woman or the most beautiful male, you were the Cleopatra of your time or the Adonis, if you were the most beautiful human being on the planet and nobody could see you or nobody else knew it, would you still want it? This also goes into people that, like, for example, if you're dissatisfied with your body, either because you feel like you need to lose weight or gain muscle or whatever, or you need a bigger butt or whatever, if you could have those things and nobody else could see it, would it matter to you in the same way? Would you still be desperate to have it? And so I use this a lot, especially when I was doing primarily my MFit program, which is emotional health and fitness, is I would ask my students, my clients that were, really struggling to lose weight. And so that's what we did in the program. We'd go back to the root cause and then the weight would just naturally fall off, because it's an energetic buildup of like a deeper issue, but trapped in the body. But anyways, so I would ask them if no one else could see your body, like let's say you lived in a forest alone, no one else could see your body and like you could thrive and you had all of your things and you were happy, or if everyone was living in like paper bags or potato sacks and no one else could see each other's bodies, would it matter to you as much? Like, would you feel the same way? Would you be so angry, so dissatisfied, so unhappy with your body? And it's interesting because the answer is almost always no. It's no. Um, and like, for example, the beauty question, and I was thinking how many people would really care if nobody could validate their beauty. And so it's interesting. And so that's my question is, would it matter to you in the same way if no one else could see it? And if it doesn't, then what's your intention with the fake boobs and the fake butt and the extreme actions or rituals or behaviors to achieve a certain look or a certain body type or a certain whatever. And so if the intention isn't for yourself, is if it doesn't matter if no one else sees it, then it matters that everybody sees it, and then you're not really doing it for you, are you? And so how much of your behavior around that, how much of your desire, of your dissatisfaction, of this struggle is rooted in self-love, is rooted in taking care of yourself, is rooted because you love and accept yourself. And so it's super interesting. And it's something that everybody should take into account because we're constantly, especially with the social media generation, the focus very much is on like outward validation. In the apps they were thinking about like a year or two ago, or maybe longer now, they were briefly talking about taking away the like counts on the photos. And so they did other things like Instagram adjusted like the Explorer page, like they did, or like that you can't see what other people like. They did a whole bunch of stuff, but they didn't take the like counts out, which I think is interesting because like how much would you be posting if no one else could see how many people liked your stuff? Like that would be different too. And so if it matters, you have to ask yourself, is that a value you want to have? Is that a core value you want to have? And Mark Mason, Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of How Not to Give a Fuck, he talks about like readjusting your core values. And acquaintance, a friend, a new coach just lent me the book The Value Factor, and it's all about readjusting your values and like re-identifying your values. So if your values are rooted in outward validation or in reaching a certain goal or an expectation or a marker with something outside of yourself, you're going to constantly feel disappointed. You're going to constantly feel like you're losing because you can't control other people. You can't control outward, external circumstances or perceptions. You can only control what's inside. So if you're having a difficult time with like your beauty or your looks or your dissatisfaction, I guarantee it's rooted in something external. And so if you can flip it to finding internal values, as if, let's say you're trying to lose weight, and if it really matters that other people see you, can you flip the value to, I'm treating my body with health. I'm focused on health and I trust that the body will align itself naturally. Can you focus on taking care of yourself? Because that is a value that you can control. You can control the success of that value. And so you will find much more fulfillment, much more purpose in that. And so, for example, with beauty, especially women, I see this like, not all. There are some women that are very goddess grounded, and like they're showing their beauty in this sense of like divinity, like it's in alignment with themselves. But I see a lot of women and men operating out of alignment, especially when it comes to social media, because they're operating in a way that they perceive will give them validation or success or whatever. And so if you're doing this for external validation, it's going to be very hard to control. So can you flip it to an internal value where I do things that make me feel beautiful, regardless of whether anyone else thinks it's beautiful? Or I do things that make me feel luxurious or pampered or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever the value is. But it's something to consider, and it's something to really think about. And so that's the question I posed to you, and like I would love to hear your responses or your interpretation of it, or if it made you really reflect and realize anything. But if you were the most beautiful or the most fit or the most whatever that bodily meat sack issue you have with your own meat sack, which is what this is. We're just souls and energetic beings living in this like meat sack on a revolving rock in the earth, in the planet, in the solar system. So whatever that issue you have with your own meat sack, if no one else could see it ever, would it matter to you in the same way? And if it's a no, then how can you examine that value that you have? What are you missing? What are you looking for? Why does it matter what other people think or believe or perceive about you? And can you flip it into an internal value? Can you change it to be focused on your physical health so you can live and enjoy your life to the full extent and not be limited by your body for the next 30, 40, 70, 80 years, whatever it is? Or how can you make yourself feel beautiful? How can you feel beautiful? How can you feel attractive? And like, how can you honor your natural beauty and like yourself? And how can you do that? Like, where do you need to go to feel that within if nobody else was going to see you? So that's my question. That's my thought exercise. That's my I used to, when I was posting on Instagram, I used to call this like exploratory, inner explorer questions or something, journal questions. So we just have to, and this is the other thing too, just very briefly, because I want to make this video short, is that this isn't meant as a criticism. We all have these things, especially we are all groomed to look for external validation. That's literally, if you look at marketing, that's like what most of the precedent is, to be, especially certain things. Or like, I love those millionaire accounts on social media where it's like cars and planes and da da da. And like one time I saw one that said like goals, like fam goals or something. I don't know the terms. I'm not, I don't know. And so it was like fam goals, and it was like all these people like standing on a private runway with like Bentleys and all of these like luxury cars. And like all I was thinking was like, are those people happy? Like, do they like themselves? Like, you literally don't know. All it's showing you, it's trying to associate these external things, these external values, these external objects with self-love, joy, whatever else, but they're trying to associate it with an internal value that cannot be fulfilled by an external value, but they're trying to sell you on the idea. Anyways, so this isn't a judgment. This isn't another thing to put down. This isn't to think badly about yourself. What this is like, how could you know? How could you fix it if you weren't aware? Awareness is power, as my mentor used to say. And now that you have the awareness, what are you going to do with it? It's not don't make this another layer just to beat yourself up, because that's not the point. You didn't know, now you see. And what are you going to do with it? And if you choose to do nothing, that's okay too. You know what I mean? That's some people's choice. They aren't interested in evolution. They aren't interested in challenging these shadows within themselves. They're not interested in the growing through the discomfort. And that's okay. If that's where you're at, that's okay. And there's time and a place. Sometimes we need certain things that, even though we know they're not good for us, we need just like that life raft to get through difficult periods. So like, that's fine. But if you're ready to grow through the discomfort, if you're ready to be uncomfortable and to evolve and to move on, start asking yourself, like, if this is my value, if my values are rooted in external validation, which is impossible to meet or to always land on, how can I make this an internal value? How can I make this a value that I can control, a marker that I can control? And a good example of values is, for me, am I operating in alignment with myself and my highest good and my purpose? And so my purpose here is to be a light and to give light to others. And so am I operating in that space? Am I operating towards my spiritual evolution? Like, am I not operating out of fear? That's a big one for me, is to operate out of love over fear. That's one of my main values. And also to not, another one is to own my shit, basically, to not blame, to take ownership of my wounds, of my shadows, and not to blame or put it outside of somebody else. Or honesty is one you can control, or integrity, or bravery when you're afraid, like choosing love out of fear. Like, those are all internal values that you can control and you can always hit the marker on. And so that's the question I posed to you. That's the thought exercise. And I wish you good luck, and be well, my friends. And this is Caroline from Carousel, and your energy is safe with me.